loved getting next to Cove, loved feeling him up during the night. Anyway, let's do dinner. Sunlight shone through the windows as you sat in your living room, your home phone pressed to your ear. Cove was on the other end. It'd been shaping up to be an ordinary day like any other, until Cove had called unexpectedly. He sounded unusually nervous greeting you. Doesn't he call all the time? You listened silently as he kept talking, his words stilted. So, I was just, wondering, do you want to come over to my house for dinner tonight? The question came out strangely, almost like he'd rehearsed it a few times beforehand. Your eyes widened a little. You hadn't expected this to be the reason behind the call. You kept listening. Yeah, I can't. Oh my god. Yeah, I'll go.
That's,
It was, huh? Oh. It seemed that Cove still had more to say and you just interrupted him. Oops. Every time there's a thirst option for Cove, it's an easy choice. It's true, I can't resist the thirst options. I can't. Cool. Well, he stumbled for a bit, trying to gather his thoughts again. My mom and dad, they really want you to be there if your parents don't have a problem with it. They asked me to ask you. You took a moment to think. Dinner at home would be quiet and uneventful today. If you really wanted to, you could go to Cove's instead. Cove spoke up again, breaking your thought train. His voice was softer than before. Also, I want you to be there too. Can you come over, I mean? Yeah, I can come right on that beautiful face of yours. Thanks, Joseph. I'll let them know when I can. He sounded noticeably relieved by your response. Was you coming over for dinner today that serious? He spoke to you a little while longer to explain what time to come over and other details, then hung up. And that was that, for now anyway. Soon enough, the sun dipped out of the sky and evening came. It was time for you to head to Cove's house. After letting Elizabeth know you were leaving, she didn't look away from the TV. Just grunted, you made the small journey across the street. You knocked a couple times on the heavy door to their condo. As you waited for an answer, you found yourself contemplating being a guest while both of Cove's parents were there. It was exciting, you were apprehensive. It was exciting, why not? I'm meeting my husband's parents, my future husband. You had thought today was going to be boring, but it turned out to be much more interesting. You didn't get too much time with your thoughts, though. The door opened soon enough. Cove's mom, Kyra, stood in the frame, smiling warmly at you.
come on.
Hey, Joseph. Welcome. Please come on in. She opened the door wider and moved to make room. You stepped inside, allowing her to shut it behind you. Thank you so much for coming over. I know it was kind of last second. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Just make yourself at home. It's not my home, but I've been given permission to say that. Hey, Joseph. Welcome to our humble abode. You jerked your head towards the sound of Mr. Holden's voice. He waved at you briefly from the kitchen, with his back turned and a large spoon in hand. Hope you're hungry, because I'm whipping up a lot of tasty stuff. True to his word, you heard something sizzling on the stove. You closed your eyes and inhaled. It smelled spicy and savory. With Mr. Holden busy and Cove nowhere to be seen, it was just you and Kyra. She gave you a wry smile. He sure is. Well, I've been barred from cooking for the entire time I'm staying here. Can you believe that? She nudged you with an elbow. Mr. Holden scoffed good-naturedly, then spoke from over his shoulder. You're on vacation, Kyra. You need to accept that already. Cove is coded autistic? Interesting. She yelled back, amusement obvious on her face and in her tone. People still cook when they're on vacation. Everyone's gotta eat. It's not like I'm some celebrity who can go out for every meal or hire a private chef.
Sorry.
Well, in this house, you're a VIP. Kyra smiled and shook her head quietly. Then she turned to face you once more.
Well.
Sorry about that, Joseph. Here I was trying to strike up conversation with you, and Cliff just had to butt in.
I didn't butt in. She eyed him, chuckling in disbelief. He wasn't exactly disapproving her point with that. Kyra leaned over to whisper to you.
It's okay, he likes to be included, but since Clifford insisted on cooking all by himself, he'll have to wait. The two of us can chat.
Her next question continued to be said in a hushed tone, just to be safe.
So,
how are you doing?
Good, things are okay. I'm not really sure. I just didn't say anything. She kept talking and I just kind of ignored her. Oh god. Things are okay, you know. I haven't quite gotten into Cove's pants yet, but I'm trying. To her credit, Kyra wasn't too fazed by your lackluster response. Why would you be fazed by that? All I said was it's okay. I would like to see the person who would just like show a face of absolute shock when I said that. It's just okay. How could that be? Like what?
Let's see if we can turn that okay to great by tonight, huh?
Yeah, well, have you tied your son to the bed completely naked? Because that's the only way it's going to be a great night, so... She opened her mouth to say something more, but some lightly pounding footsteps caught your attention. You checked to see Cove emerge from the hall a few moments later, so I guess he's not tied to the bed. Fine. He might have heard all the commotion and left to his room to see what was going on. He quickly took stock of the situation. His cheeks tinted pink at the sight of you standing in his living room, and his hand came up to rub his arm almost bashfully. Joseph, you made it. Thanks for coming. Cove's voice was unnaturally loud, as if he thought you wouldn't be able to hear him from where you were, only a few feet away. Hey, weirdo. Cove frowned at your playful greeting. Weirdo? Yeah, 'cause you're being all weird. He huffed, but he didn't deny it, which meant that he knew he was acting off too. It was when you glanced away from Cove that you spotted his parents watching the two of you interact. Cove noticed their stares too, meeting them with narrowed eyes. Hey guys, stop watching our romance unfold.
So...
Are we having dinner now? Not yet, bud. I'm still cooking. Alright, I'm gonna go back to my room. Can I come? As he turned to leave, he bent his head to the side to face you. You coming? Dude, I already came as soon as you started talking. The question was quiet, but you heard it clearly. You smiled, pleased that he asked, and nodded in the affirmative. Cove turned fully and made his way down the hall. We're locking the door, don't come disturb us.
Have fun, you two.
We'll call you when the food's ready to go. With that, you followed after Cove. The two of you made your way down the hall. This was the first time you were invited to Cove's room, was it? No. Only verily. How about that? Cove got to the door first, opening it and stepping inside. You joined him. There was a mat on the floor in front of the door as you stepped over the threshold into his room. You felt the crunch of sand beneath your feet. What? What kind of mat is that? Sand mat? The sensation was nothing new to you, of course. Cove constantly came back to his room covered in sand. Oh, the mat's just full of sand. What the heck, dude? Not bothering to clean himself off at the front door and got it all over his personal space. That's just how he was. A little bit of a mess. You hadn't heard Mr. Holden ever scold him for it. Not like your moms would have if you'd done it. You can sit wherever you want. Cove himself took a seat at the edge of his large bed, looking like the picture of comfort, and left you to decide. Sis, we're sitting right next to Cove. As soon as you sat next to him, Cove grew tense. His back went stiff and he ducked his head away. He tried to hide a trembling smile.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, you're such a cutie. He said it under his breath as if he didn't want you to hear. You obviously did, and easily, since you were right beside him. You were nervous about that? You chuckled over it? You felt charmed by his reaction. He raised his eyebrows. You both kept noticing the other's every move. You only shrugged back. It's nothing, don't worry. You're like an open book, you know that? You're adorable.
What?
You are, though. Clearly hadn't expected the compliment. Somehow his flesh grew worse, spreading all the way down his neck. He fumbled for words. I'm not. That's... He gripped a blanket underneath him and searched for something more to say. Did you see my fish? I've got some. In a tank right there. Cove threw both his hands in front of him to direct her eyes towards his pets. He was trying pretty poorly to change the topic, that much was clear. You decided to show him mercy and allowed it. You started to watch the bright fish swim. There were a bunch of them, floating to and fro in that open space. They stood out starkly against the green aquarium plants. How long have you had those fish?
I guess.
My dad bought them for me not very long after I moved here. I guess it's been years now. Wow, that's a long time. You peered carefully into the tank. The fish looked to be doing well. He must take good care of them. Most of them were small, but there was one especially big one. What are their names? I don't name them. Well, not really. You lifted an eyebrow at that. He continued the explanation sheepishly.
I mean...
Mostly I just call them things based on what they look like. Squirt for a small one, tangerine for a really orange one. That sort of thing. I've also had a lot of fish, and I'm not that good at coming up with names. You found that funny. You found it surprising. You found that relatable. You didn't have any pets, but you always had trouble naming your stuffed animals or whatever else. It was such a hard choice. Oh, a couple of them have other types of names. He pointed to a small orangish red fish. It was minding its own business away from the others. My dad named her Dreamcatcher, and the other one's Mark. Mom came up with that one. Cove smiled to himself, his eyes reflecting the glow from the tank. You let other people name your fish? When do I get to name one?
It's nice.
He then turned to you, tilting his head to the side. There was a considering look on his face. Do you want to name one? Ugh, girl. Yeah, I do. His smile grew a little at your enthusiasm. Cool. There's a few who don't even have names right now, the newer ones. You can pick which you want to name. He pointed each of the recent acquisitions out to you. The first was the smallest fish in the tank. It was completely orange and zipped all over the place, running laps around the others. The second was slightly bigger and red. Its tail was dotted with black spots which almost resembled freckles. The last fish was the biggest one. Its multicolored scales rippled under the bright light of the tank as it slowly made its way across the vast expanse. You went with... I don't know, the biggest fish? Cove only nodded at your answer, waiting for you to decide on a suitable name. You watched the fish you chose wisely. You chose closely. As you did, a name eventually came to you. I name it Cove because it's huge, just like your cock. Cove laughed unreservedly at your choice. It was affectionate rather than insulting. What? You can't name it after me. Why not? Because I'm not going to call my fish that. But you still said I could pick it. Cove shook his head with a bent smile. I'll call them Junior then. You can still call them Cove. Okay, well... Alright, it seemed like a good enough compromise, so you agreed. Cove nodded, satisfied. Alright, it's Cove. With that, his attention moved from you to the tank. He peered fondly at it and its inhabitants. You smiled proudly at Cove as it swam through the tendrils of the plants, disappearing then reappearing soon after. You noticed then that Cove was sitting closer to you than he was before. He must have scooted over at some point during the conversation. This close, your shoulders were almost brushing against each other. Your heartbeat picked up a little at the realization. You know, I'm not allowed to have pets in my house, even fish. The corners of Cove's lips turned down at that. That doesn't sound fair. It's not like the fish would make a mess of your house or anything. You just gotta take care of their tank and feed them and they'll be okay. Right? My moms can be strict over the weirdest things sometimes. But hey, that's having lesbian parents, am I right? I don't know. They trust Elizabeth and me to go around the neighborhood alone, but they won't let us have a pet. It doesn't make any sense. Maybe when you're older they'll let you. I don't know, they seem pretty against it. Your current conversation brought to mind a memory from years ago. You launched into it without any warning, earning you a brief, confused look from Cove. One time, Elizabeth, came back from playing at the beach and just shut herself in her room. She only came down for food and then she ran back upstairs straight after. It was kinda weird. My mom didn't think much of it at first. But then that night, Mom went to her room to say goodnight and started screaming. Mom and I ran over to see what happened. Lizzie had this huge lizard in her arms. Cove's eyebrow rose at that and he leaned forward in interest.
Really?
A lizard? Where'd that come from? Elizabeth said she saw it half buried in the sand and didn't know what it was. Then she pulled it out and got the answer. So she brought it home. She hid the lizard in her room for most of the day because she wanted to keep it. Mom and Ma were not happy. They worried about putting it out during the night, but she was going to have to let it go in the morning. Lizzie was really upset. She did bring it back to the beach eventually, but she wouldn't talk to anyone for days. When she did get over it, it was almost like it never happened. You laughed, thinking back to that time Elizabeth had been stubborn, but when she was younger, she forgot grudges quickly. Now it wasn't so easy. Cove had been quiet for most of the story, apart from the reveal of the lizard. He had a thoughtful look on his face. I can't imagine what it'd be like to have a sibling. You gave a serious thought to his statement before you told him. It's a nice idea in general, but my sister is Elizabeth. Same, exactly. Maybe if I had someone else as my sibling, I'd like having one more. Cove pursed his lips at the words, considering them quietly for a while.
Cool.
That's interesting. I think your family is cool. Is it because my moms are lesbians? That's because my moms are lesbians. He didn't have much else to say, though while on the topic of your family, you considered your relationship with your moms too. They were the best. They're hot. You couldn't even consider having another opinion. You couldn't have better parents. Well, say what you want about them, but at least your mom's never tried to pay someone to be your friend. I mean, you're acting like that makes Cove's dad bad. I mean, he was trying to help his son. The thought prompted you to look over at Cove. He probably still didn't know that happened. You doubted that Mr. Holden mentioned it, and you never had. You were wondering if you should tell him. It was a long time ago, but you were keeping a secret from Cove. You didn't tell him it was a bad time. You decided to tell him. You took a deep breath, studying to prepare yourself for the conversation. Now you just had to figure out how to tell him. I mean, it happened so long ago, it doesn't matter now. It's not that important. You want to know something crazy? Cove raised an inquisitive eyebrow at your casual tone. He turned to give you his full attention.
Maybe?
Well, don't sound that unsure, okay? I was just gonna tell you how I was able to fit 3 eggs up my anus, but whatever. You stared into his bright ocean eyes. You told him the truth. Basically, back when you moved here, the first time I met your dad, he offered me money to be friends with you. $20. It was pretty ridiculous. I tried to negotiate with him for 50, but he was saying you just weren't worth that, Cove. I was kind of taken aback by that comment, so I just took the money and started hanging out with you. You laughed lightly at that memory of it, though it trailed off oddly when you realized Cove wasn't laughing with you. Dude, it's so long ago, it doesn't matter. Cove sat still, uncharacteristically. There was an unreadable expression on his face. His eyes seemed to look through you, and you didn't know what to do next. Then, without saying a word, Cove stood up from his bed in a single motion, and he just bolted right out of his room. Dude, you're literally... It's been 5 years. I'm not still hanging out with you because of your parents' $20. For a moment, you didn't move a muscle. You were in shock. This was... Oh no. Your senses quickly came back. You shot out into the hall after him. Dude, it's not that big a deal. Cove, there was no response to your call. It's not that big a deal. Dude, you're 13 and you're horny. And I'm horny too. Like, I don't understand why this matters anymore. You could see Cove down the way. He had already sprinted back to the living room. His arms were stock at his sides with his hands tightly balled into fists. You want to know something funny, moody teenager? I'm only friends with you. We were 8 years old when that happened. It's been 5 years. He might not have been facing you, but you didn't need to see his face to know how he felt. Cove is pissed. He doesn't look pissed. He looks really cute and sort of confused and, I don't know, like he needs a kiss. Like he needs a little reach around, a finger on his hole, I don't know, a little finger bang. He might not have been... I already read that. His parents were nearly finished setting the table. They greeted him, none the wiser of what was about to happen.
Huh?
Hey, what's up? When did you start running in the house?
Are you that famished? You were able to catch up and fool and stand near Cove. The parents' words didn't even register in his ears. The child was wholly focused on another matter. He was practically shaking. Imagine looking like this, but being angry. Like, what? Oh my god, and I'm living for the side-eye Kyra's giving him right now. Like, she's just like, say your piece and get out of here. I don't have time for this. Oh, Cove took one more step forward and glared up at his father's face. You paid Joseph to be friends with me? You know, it would have been cute to give him the $20 and then tell him the story? Maybe. But girl, I already spent that $20. Mr. Holden froze. He looked like a helpless deer caught in the headlights.
Seriously?
Clifford, are you serious? Guys, it was 5 years ago. Stop making a big deal. He whipped his head towards Kyra, his eyes wide and blinking rapidly. It was only one time. The admission elicited an aghast expression from his ex-wife. Mr. Holden raised his hands up to gesture defensively. It seemed like a good idea when it happened. She covered her eyes with one hand. It was clear that her patience was frayed, but she was not so shocked anymore. Mr. Holden bowed his head, rubbing the back of his neck guiltily. The fact that she accepted this as something he'd do so easily seemed to be the most crushing part. Cove just stood there, fuming silently during their little aside. If I'm giving Cove $20, he better be putting out. His eyebrows furrowed painfully and his eyes trembled. He felt so bad for Cove. I feel bad for Holden, Mr. Holden. It's not that big a deal, Cove. You felt bad for yourself. You know what I've learned from seeing all of you do this? I'm feeling bad for myself. I'll say it. I feel bad for Holden. He was obviously blindsided by all of this. Now Kyra and Cove were upset with him. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, but must have been only minutes, the tense silence was broken by Cove. What do you mean you don't want to stay here? I don't want to stay here. That immediately caught his parents' attention. They turned to him with twin expressions of worry. Hey, wait a minute, bud. You don't have to do that.
It's alright.
There's still your room. We'll stay out of your way, I promise. Where could you go this time of day? It's almost night. I'm going over to Joseph's.
No!
I can stay with Joseph. He won't turn me away. You paid him to. He stormed out of the house without waiting for another response. You jumped as the door slammed closed behind him. You immediately followed after Cove. You just stood there. Okay, alright, Cove, fine. You didn't even take the time to say something to his stunned parents. You ran after Cove, shutting the door more softly behind you as you left. You spotted him easily. Cove had it well, we really, I feel like that dinner could have gone a whole different way if we didn't tell him, huh? You spotted him easily. Cove hadn't made it far. He just reached the middle of the road. Are you okay? You might as well have said nothing. Cove didn't look back, nor did he answer you. Cove stomped forward, going across the street without hesitance towards your house. It didn't take long to approach the front door. You'd left it unlocked, so he yanked it open and went inside with you. By then, night fully came. The two, are you still mad, or are you just nervous and being cute? Because I can't tell the difference, Cove. It's kind of hard to tell the difference with you. The two of you stood tensely together in the middle of your living room. Okay, I guess we'll just stand here for a while. The night really hadn't gone as you imagined it would. Kuro wants to watch the world burn. At least Elizabeth wasn't around and your moms were out. You had no idea how you would have I thought Cove asked us to bring our parents, to bring our moms. Why were they out? Shouldn't they have come to the dinner with us anyway? Whatever. You had no idea how you would have explained the situation to them, and you were sure Cove wouldn't have been up for that. He watched you from a distance. His expression wasn't hostile, but was not exactly welcoming either. His 14 underdeveloped brain and hormones? You mean 13? You did the right thing by leaving? No. You said nothing. Are you okay? Cove shifted so his back was to you. Then he crossed his arms over his chest. Are you mad at me? To your surprise, he actually responded. What? No.
It's okay.
I just wish I'd known before. But I guess there's never really a good time to bring up something like that. No, you couldn't have known before. If you knew before, back when you were a kid, you probably would have stopped talking to me. You're not the one who did anything. His tone was clipped and insulting, though it was now fully clear that none of that negativity was towards you. And we're actually friends, aren't we? Actually, your dad's been giving me weekly installments, so... Besides, it's not like it worked. We really only became friends way later. It doesn't matter if you took it or not. Oh, I took it, honey. You nodded your head furiously at that. If there was one thing you didn't want this relation to do, it was to weaken your relationship. Of course we're friends. I mean, we're more than friends. Cove seemed to appreciate your reassurance. The furrow in his brow eased a little. Yeah, we are. I'm definitely not mad at you. I should thank you for not letting him get to you, and for telling me it happened. My dad never would have. He's always like that. He just does things. He doesn't ask or tell me about it or anything. Cove threw his arms out, his features twisted in frustration. There already was this thing with my mom coming to stay with us for this summer out of nowhere, and that was supposed to be a surprise I'd find out about. Who knows what other things he's done that I've never heard of? Does he even know how to think about what someone else might actually want? He paused to take a panting breath, scowling. It could have been worse. You didn't go, well, your dad's only trying. I'll just listen. He just wants to vent. Uninterrupted by you, Cove went on with his spiel. The worst part is, I know he doesn't do stuff for himself. He does things because he wants to make people happy. Is he crying? Cove blinked rapidly and you noticed tears were gathering in his eyes. When he spoke again, his voice was heavy with emotion. I'm basically a salaried employee at this point. You should get a cut. Oh my gosh. But he just makes everything worse, and then he's really sorry, and it's like it's your fault for not being happy that he was at least trying. And what if all his plans and always being so and what if all of his plans and always being so pushy did change things? What things? Cove finally met your gaze, his bottom lip trembling. You realized that he was referring to you and him. What if what he did made you stay away from me before we even got to know each other? Oh my god. His voice cracked as he forced himself to speak through the tears that began to fall in earnest. He did everything he could to say it, but the words were barely a whisper. Cove, I don't know if this is the right time to tell you, but I have a fetish for boys crying, and it turns me on when you cry.
Joseph.
Yeah, it's turning me on. You were the best thing about coming here, was I? Who was?
Joseph.
Well, thank you. Cove was honestly terrified over the idea that there was a chance the two of you might not have what you do. You stepped forward and rested a hand on his shoulder. You hugged him. Yeah, I'm hugging you. Cove readily accepted the embrace. He wrapped his arms around you in return. The grip was firm. I'm really glad we got to be friends. Please don't cry. No, keep crying. You didn't need to say anything. I wouldn't have let anything your dad or anyone else mess things up. Exactly. His features crumpled at your words. More tears threatened to fall down his cheek, but he stubbornly blinked them away. Lord, not that voice clip? What's wrong with that voice clip? You remained like that for just a little while. Then he scrubbed his eyes with the back of one hand. His gaze turned away from you, growing distant. He's like that with my mom, too. The anger had begun to release, bubbled back to the surface. Dad wants to make people happy, but he doesn't. The words landed scathingly hard. You were certain it'd crush Mr. Holden if you heard them. You'd never known much about his parents' relationship, but you thought you'd understood it a bit better now. I don't know. If I say anything like, you don't actually mean what you're saying, he's gonna be like, He's gonna be like, no, you don't understand. I'm 13 and I'm moody. But I'm really hot, though. Oh, I know, you're so hot. Cove just looked at the ground. As the two of you were stifled by the quiet, a thought came to your mind, abrupt and sudden. What about your fish? Yeah, what about your fish? You couldn't forget earlier that night when Cove spoke about them. How he watched them, how he cared for them. That was something special that your dad did for you. It's been really important to you for a long time, right? He can make you happy. Try a generic I'm here for you, that's what I always go for. Cove's eyes opened a little wider. A fragile smile tugged ever so slightly at his lips. It was obvious Cove didn't want to think about his dad that way, but it's also hard not to right now. He must be conflicted over where to go from here. Okay, he needs to stop being forceful. You might feel better than you do if you try to make it. You guys really should learn how to communicate. I'll be on your side. Your dad needs to stop being so forceful. Cove frowned thoughtfully. He didn't say anything, but you had a feeling he was taking what you said into consideration. I'm going back home. Okay, fine. So, you're just gonna come over here, get me all horny, and then go back home. Fine. His face was set in determination. There was no way you could tell him to do anything else, even if you wanted to, so you only nodded.
I'm sorry.
Thanks, Joseph. I'm sorry about all of this. Okay, do you at least want to stick your tongue in my mouth before you leave, or what? Can I come? That'd be kind of weird. Why would I ask to come with him? That's kind of weird. I'm still pretty McFrickin' hungry, so can I come over? I kind of want dinner. Yeah, why wouldn't you go? Oh, okay. Oh, I don't know, I thought you wanted to talk to your parents or something. Okay, fine. Good, because I was McFrickin' hungry. You smiled lightly. Just checking. Cove nodded and headed outside. You followed behind him. I thought he wanted to talk to his parents alone or something. Whatever. I'm gonna eat all the dinner. Once again, the two of you made your way across the street towards his house. Okay, Cove, have you considered my parents aren't home? Cove is such a pussy. Oh my god. He doesn't have any balls, dude. And it's okay, I love him for that. He didn't pause at the door, he just opened it wide and went in. Cove's parents were sitting at the table, their heads bowed and silence between them. Like he could be in my room and I would be naked laying on my bed and he would like turn around so he wouldn't look at me. Because he'd be too embarrassed to see me. It's like, dude, come on. Ko's parents were sitting at the table, their heads bowed and silence between them. They snapped over at the sound of the door, relieved to see Cove return. Mr. Holden stood up so suddenly his chair squealed across the floor.
Cove?
Kyra got out of her chair as well, but less dramatically. How are you feeling, baby? I wanted to talk to you. He's 13, he's still figuring things out. I know, and he can figure things out while he's inside of me. His parents looked over him, their features soft. Cove instead snuck a glance at you. You were glad you could be here for him. You steered back solidly, hoping you could convey your support with your eyes. It must have worked because Cove stood up a bit straighter. He'd pass out more like. That's how you know he's 13. Cove's extra sub. Why are we here for this? I know, I said that earlier, but I'm trying to act. I didn't want to come over because I thought it'd be weird, but I'm trying to act like it's natural now that I'm here. You know, I'm trying to just double down. Cove then fully faced his parents. Mr. Holden stepped forward cautiously, his expression twisting in dismay. I'm so sorry. I never should have done something so stupid. It's okay. I mean, we might have never been friends if you didn't pay me the money, so... Like, actually, I gotta thank you, Mr. Holden. I might have never gotten your son's D if not for that. It really isn't. That was a boneheaded move if there ever was one. I was bribing an actual child, one I'd never even met before that day. Cove almost cracked a smile, though he quickly regained his composure. We're here for moral support and food. Then it isn't, but I want things to be okay anyway.
I'm sorry.
Kyra placed a hand on Mr. Holden's shoulder. Your dad doesn't believe there's something wrong with you or that you can't make your own friends. He can explain. Well, actually, he was a pretty annoying 8-year-old. I would be surprised if he could have made friends on his own.
I know.
I know why Dad did it. He wanted me to be happy, that's all. He didn't think it'd be like this. It was an accident. He came back for food, not a soap opera. I know, I'm sitting at the table right now, just eating the food. I have a drumstick in one hand, just biting it off. This is good food, Mr. Holden. Kyra sighed heavily. A sad smile appeared on her lips. You're very grown up, Cove. Mr. Holden brought his hands up against his forehead and began to pace around the room. He didn't seem to know what to do with himself. He turned back to face Cove and Kyra. He looked more solemn than you'd ever seen him. Oops, I skipped a line. I'm not going to do it again. I haven't done it again. Haven't tried to bribe more people, or haven't continued to step over a line without registering it? Both. He let out a heavy breath before shrinking down a little. It was impressive because he was pretty tall.
I'm trying.
I don't know, but I don't think so. Cove's throat bobbed as he swallowed thickly. He looked like he was trying to gather all his courage. When he spoke up, his voice was small but firm. You invited Mom here. Ah. His dad's eyes widened. Cove was ready to have a talk he had put off before. Alright, so I'm almost done with the food now. It was pretty good, guys, so I'm just gonna head out. You didn't ask me if I wanted things to be like this, with both of you together again just for a little while. Mr. Holden's hand slowly returned to his forehead. He was stunned as if someone had just hit him. I did it again. I did it again and I didn't even notice. What's wrong with me? Why can't I just do something right? It's okay, Mr. Holden. I put my greasy chicken hands on his shoulder. It's to start patting him. It's okay, you tried your best. At least Cove seemed relieved that he was able to say what he felt. You knew just how long he'd been holding that in. It was quite a long stretch. Mr. Holden had sat down in a chair, his shoulders drooped and his head in his hands. You looked at Cove. He watched his dad and how genuinely he was struggling with what he'd been told. Cove glanced down at the ground, then looked back to his dad. I'm not angry anymore. Oh, so then it's cool that I've been recording this on my camcorder? I thought it might be a cool home movie for us to watch later. You know, as Cove and as Cove's family and Joseph, the home movie. It might be fun. You know, I'm just saying. Slowly, Mr. Holden met his son's eyes. I can try to talk to you about things and what I feel about stuff. I stopped saying that to you since everything happened. I didn't want to talk to you, but you won't have to guess if you know. Mr. Holden broke eye contact at that, shaking his head.
God.
My child shouldn't have to take care of me. You shouldn't have to make up for my shortcomings, Cove. I can fix things. I can still change. Kyra, get your ass out of my house. No, wait, Dad, that's not what I meant. After having something of an outburst, Mr. Holden turned his face away and spoke more guardedly. Besides, I'm used to that already. I might not get it right, but not a damn thing would happen in what's left of this family if I wasn't making the effort. It's always me. What's one more thing to manage? Dad.
I see.
You're right, Cliff. I know. But I don't think Cove wants to take care of you. He just wants to understand. And he wants his dad to understand too. That's what matters, isn't it? It was still as Mr. Holden digested what Kyra said. He stared down at his empty hands held out in front of him. When he looked at Cove again, his tiny tears glimmered in the corners of his eyes. He got up and crossed the room to his son. Cove didn't move or look away as he approached. Mr. Holden set his hands on Cove's shoulders, the touch firm. He furrowed his brows. Bud, you and I are going to talk about every single thought that ever pops into our heads. Oh, so you're going to talk about me a lot, I guess? Dude. For the rest of your life. He shook Cove forward and back a bit. Tears slipped down Cove's cheeks, but he was smiling.
What?
No, I don't want that. Mr. Holden began to smile too. It trembled at the corners, but it was genuine. I'm afraid it's the only way. Kyra chuckled even as she blinked away from her own tears. Mr. Holden turned towards her. Can I join this family hug or like what? You could, no? Okay, fine, I'll just get my McFrickin' ass to the sink and wash these dishes, whatever. You better not be thinking that you can get away from this, Kyra. The same is gonna apply to you. You can't. You let go of Cove with one hand while he placed his other arm around Cove's shoulders. Then he faced Kyra.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes I can. He continued to talk as he walked in her direction, bringing Cove along with him. Aww. I mean, Cove looks a little bit weird here. Am I crazy? I don't know. He looks a little bit off model. I mean, he still looks cute, but a little off model. I don't know what's up with that. Then father and son were standing in front of her. Mr. Holden put his other arm around her.
Now he had both of them in his arms. If you think the ideas that I actually go with are bad, you two are going to be amazed by the thoughts I decide against all on my own. Kyra jokingly cringed at the concept. Cove smiled tearfully up at his parents. Thanks, Dad.
I'm so glad.
Thank you, son. But hey, you know what I'm thinking now? So I can't join the family hug. Cove, wiping his face with the back of his hand, shook his head. He looks a little weird from the side, like one of his eyes is out of place. Yeah, something like that. God, no, you're an incomprehensible maniac. Mr. Holden laughed, not disputing her words. I'm thinking we should eat that dinner I painstakingly made. It's salvageable. Just gotta heat it back up. We just look over at them, our eyes big and wide. So here's the thing. I ate all the food. My fat ass just ate all the food. What's up, guys? Kyra sighed in exaggerated relief.
Can do.
That we can manage, right, Cove? Yeah. Great, we're making progress already.
Well...
Though I don't even know how I'm going to start making this up to Joseph. Carrying that secret all this time must have been quite the burden to bear. You don't have to talk to me about me in the third person, I'm right here. $20 is not nearly enough for all the hullabaloo, that's what I've been saying. I'm sure you'll come up with something. Well, I or we will work on it. Okay. Cove ducked his head and spoke towards you. There was a tiny smile on his face. Do you want to stay for dinner still? I heard he ate, bitch. You bet. I was promised a meal. Mr. Holden finally let go of his family. Kyra patted him on the back with a content sigh. You're very good boys. I'm so lucky. No, we're very bad boys. You should see how we are with each other when we're in private. Cove's always touching me all over my body. Nah, I'm just bullcrapping you. He's a little pussy. He doesn't ever touch me. Cove shyly rubbed his arms while Mr. Holden nervously rubbed his neck. Neither could make eye contact out of bashfulness. In that moment, they really did seem like father and son. Cove's family was nice. You thought to yourself, you were glad that you got to come over. So this time, we can go ahead and start with the family moment. I don't even know what the family moment is about. I don't know. The sun warmed your skin from its place in the sky, and you closed your eyes, enjoying the mix of heat with the pleasant breeze that drifted past you. You and Lee had spread out a blanket on top of one of the hills behind your house, and had been relaxing there for a while. Lee? Who's Lee again? Lee had come over, oh yeah, wait, Lee is my cousin, that's right. Lee had come over earlier in the day, and while a range of activities had been discussed, from staying home to heading down to the beach, a picnic on the hill had been the choice you both settled on. A small spread was laid out in front of you, some bottled water, soft drinks, as well as chips and sliced fruit. You sat up and reached for a snack, listening to Lee talk away about the musical she had gone to see a few days ago. What was I even doing for her voice? It was unbelievable. There was singing, dancing, and crazy stunts. And it was all done live right in front of my face. We popped a what now? A boner. Maybe one day we could go together. I've got to see more shows like that. You smiled at Lee's enthusiasm, knowing how much she enjoyed singing and performing. And she was good at it too. You had gotten the chance to hear her sing a couple of tunes, and you knew she put a lot of effort into it. You also liked to sing, but you weren't very good. You also liked to sing on a talent of your own. You didn't like to sing, but you'd been told you were good at it. Oh, no, I'm not good at singing. Um... I don't like any of these choices. Oh wait, no. The last one, okay. It wasn't something you were interested in doing anyway.
I wonder if maybe we could put on our own show. Think of how fun it would be. We could perform for our parents and ask our friends and some other people to come and watch too. It'd totally work.
Oh my god, Lee, I don't want to, like, kill your vibe right now, but that sounds awful. Dude, oh, I don't know about that.
But wouldn't showing off to everybody be fun?
The thought of an audience made you feel queasy. Not really.
Are you sure?
Are you super sure? You have so many skills you could show off to the masses.
Okay. You could see that Lee was really excited about the idea, so with a small nod of your head, you agreed to go along with it.
I'm gonna sing. What about you? I know singing isn't your thing.
Can I do the backup dancing? No, there's no back. Oh wait, no, there is. Okay, I'll dance. I wouldn't actually dance in real life, but hey, it's a visual novel.
Okay, we can pick an upbeat song. That way it'll be easy for you to move. Is there anything else that's coming to your head?
No, that's all. That's all, B. The two of you ran back to your house to grab the supplies you needed, dodging your mom's amused questions before heading back out to the blanket to get started. Lee laid down on the blanket, her MP3 player held above her while she swiped through the songs. She suggested a couple of different tracks which were fast-paced enough for you to put some moves together. Lee and you discussed the plan in detail, settling on a song first and then practicing out the parts for the show. The afternoon passed quickly, the sun drooping lower and lower in the sky. After having thoroughly worked out how the show was going to go, you decided to take a break.
Oh, you know, we should have invited Cove to watch us practice our show. He could tell us if it's bad before we put on the real thing.
That's smart. That would have been okay. I'm glad he didn't see.
Oh, why?
It's probably not something he'd like, and I don't want to hear if he thinks it isn't any good.
I don't think he would be mean.
You didn't answer her, but you never knew when it came to Cove. He could be pretty blunt at times. He wouldn't... Come on, we're his baby. He wouldn't say we stunk out there.
It's too bad Derek isn't in the neighborhood today. I like him.
Who? The 12-year-old? I guess we're all 13 or 12, but... Girl, he's really 12. He's not like Cove. He is actually 12 years old. Yeah, he's a good person.
I knew you'd think so. But speaking of boys we like, what's the relationship status between you and Cove? Is it good?
Yeah, it's good, probably. I mean... I'm constantly telling him about how horny I am for him, and he just sort of blushes and ignores me, but is that good? I don't know.
I'm so happy for you. But like, really, are you going to be telling him you have a crush on him anytime soon or what?
I'm pretty sure he already knows. He already knows.
Pretty sure isn't sure. You should declare it to him.
You mumbled something incoherent, and she gave you a pointed look.
You know what? He has a crush on you too. It's obvious for him. It's obvious for you. So why not just do it?
You didn't say anything, wondering about the possibilities instead. This is our cousin. The two of you talked a little more about Cove, amongst other topics, and you found that it was nice having someone to speak with about these sorts of things. Finally, you both decided to pack everything up and head home for the evening. Lee talked excitedly about the show as you did, and you thought back on what you had already accomplished for it. You could definitely do with a little more practice, but what you had so far was a solid foundation for the performance. Upon walking... Why is she just standing there?
Upon walking through the front door, you are met by your moms and Elizabeth hovering around each other in the living room. Tension hung thick in the air as the three of them turned to you, and Lee frowning slightly. You had interrupted something. Exactly what, you weren't sure. Hello?
Oh.
Oh, hi, Joseph. Hello, Lee. Welcome back. The room felt quiet again, with no one quite knowing what to say. You felt incredibly awkward, but the silence didn't last long. You don't have to stop just because those two are here. There's no reason trying to keep it a secret. Elizabeth was mad with her arms folded defensively over her chest, but your mom's nodded in agreement with her.
Well...
Elizabeth was talking about her parents. What? Her parents? I'm confused. Oh, okay, so there was no artificial insemination in this household. Well, I mean, there could have been for me, but maybe not Elizabeth, but probably just all adoption. Lame. Why couldn't why couldn't you push me through your baby makers, moms? Come on. Why'd you have to adopt me? Why couldn't you have been inseminated? I'm sorry. I shouldn't be telling them what to do with their body. Anyway. Her biological ones. The world spun around you at the news. You couldn't understand. Why was this happening now? So wait, what happened to her biological parents? I wasn't paying attention. Oh, I'm trying to scroll back on my mouse and it's not even on.
Well...
Just talking about her parents, so nothing is happening? Why are you— calm down, Joseph, nothing is happening. All she said, she's talking about them. When you glanced at Lee, she shuffled her feet uncomfortably, as though she didn't know if she should be their nodder anymore. You didn't know either. This, Lee, this is me last night with Cove's family. I just sort of stayed there. Don't worry, it's a good show once you get settled in. Your moms had always been open and honest about the fact that neither of them had given birth to you or your sister. Dang, you couldn't even get inseminated just for me. That's all I ever wanted, moms. That's all I ever wanted. But the details hadn't been fully explained before. It made sense that Elizabeth didn't know a lot about her biological parents, and wanted to know more. You just hadn't ever thought that you'd accidentally stumble into it. Elizabeth looked at your parents expectantly. She wasn't going to let the unintentional interruption derail things. We don't want to keep that information from either of you. It's your right to know your past, but we did want to wait until you asked us to hear yourselves. Well, it's happening now, so... Your mom shared a nervous glance, and Ma took in a quick breath before speaking again. I adopted you from the Philippines when you were just a baby. Elizabeth dropped her arms, her eyebrows shooting upwards in surprise. Okay, calm down, honey. Wait, I wasn't born here?
No.
No, you weren't, so you can just give up on being president, honey. Does it matter? Like Elizabeth, who cares? You could clearly see that your sister was appalled by this information. What? You struggled even more with what to do or how to react. What's wrong with her? What does it matter where she was born? She's here now. You mean I was born in a dirty foreign country? Ew! That's literally Elizabeth. Am I gonna have to pass some test to even be a citizen? God, you're stupid.
No.
No, you were adopted. Wait, no, this is light-skinned mommy. No, you were adopted into the country. We took care of things. You're already a citizen. You have nothing to worry about. I followed all the laws when it came to bringing a child into the US. Nothing can be held against you. Elizabeth sighed, placated with the information, but still far from happy. You're getting Isaac vibes? Wait, from who? What? From Elizabeth? Who were my parents? As people, why did they put me up for adoption in the first place? Oh, I guess that's right. Isaac did, he was being really racist about Cambodia and where his parents came from. His real biological parents. I guess that's true. Ma softly put her hands over Elizabeth's shoulder, trying to provide some support before she gave her answer.
I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry, sweetie. Your parents were reported to have died. They didn't go into details on the specifics of how, but you were an orphan. I wish we had better news for you, Elizabeth. Elizabeth was torn between emotions. Her eyes filled with tears as she threw her hands in the air, settling on enraged. Great, so I can never meet them, even if I wanted to. Not that I could have anyway, since they lived in another part of the world when they were still alive. Elizabeth turned her back on you and your moms and stormed off, sprinting up the stairs and to her room before anyone could stop her. I have to go and talk to her. Ma immediately started to follow, but Mom gently held her by the arm and shook her head. We should give her a little space to process it all. Your Ma's head hung low, but she stopped walking. With Elizabeth now gone, the two of them seemed to remember you and Lee were still standing awkwardly off to the side. I'm sorry you had to see all that. It's not how I expected it would have happened when the time came. But since it's the topic of the day, Joseph, is there anything you'd like to ask? You deserve to know after all. Lee patted your back and gave you a supportive look. Alright, I guess. I mean, it's like, whatever. Your parents both nodded in sync to your reply, ready to talk. I can leave if you want to have things be private. No, it's okay, you can say, I don't care. I want you to be here. I'll be Cove last night. Stay here and listen to all our family drama. I can do that. Lee shifted a little closer to you in support, and you were glad to have her here with you. It made you feel a little stronger somehow. You turned to face your parents again, preparing yourself for what they were about to tell you. Ma was the first to speak, her voice quivering with emotion. You were adopted as a baby, but 2 years after Elizabeth. We used a different organization that time. You were adopted within the US. Score! I wasn't born in some dirty foreign country. Awesome, thanks, Ma. We're sorry to tell you, Joseph. Your parents had also passed away, and no other family member took you in, if there were any. That's why we wanted to wait until you asked. We didn't want to suddenly drop that in your lap. We wanted you to be prepared. Let me guess. You killed my parents, didn't you? And you probably killed Elizabeth's parents too. That's how much you lesbians wanted children. Oh God.
I'm sorry.
I always knew you were a murderer, Mom. With your damn murderer teeth. We're sorry, Joseph. Lee gave you a reassuring squeeze on the arm to show she was there for you. I know, these kids are pretty racist, huh? They just hate the idea of being born in another country. It's not your fault. You didn't kill them, right? Right, Mom? Right? You were trying to lighten the mood, but your moms didn't seem any less grim. Thank you for listening, Joseph. You guys just sort of dodged the question. If there's anything else you want to know, all you'll have to do is ask. We'll do our best to answer any questions you have.
Are you okay?
You who lives in a third world country? I know. Levy your complaints at the game, not me. How are you feeling now? Are you going to be okay? Lee watched you closely, as though judging how exactly she should react to what was going on. I feel fine. You held back your tears, but you weren't fine at all. Honestly, everything here is like crying. I don't care. I feel fine. You spoke with a refreshed tone as though you had a load off. Your mom smiled sadly, but you knew they believed you. No one seemed to have any words after that. You want Nita to stay here? You want to get out of the house? You want to... I don't want to see Elizabeth. Oh, I want to see Cove? Yeah. More than anything else in that moment, you wanted to see Cove. No one could be there for you the way he could. I'm gonna go out for a little while. I'll be back before it's really late. Your mom's nodded in understanding, trusting you to make the best call for yourself. Lee's footsteps echoed from behind, and you knew she was following you. No, I mean, Lee can come hang out with us. I don't care. You encouraged her. Can you come with me? You know I can. She gave you a small smile and walked with you to the door. Once outside, you strode across the street purposefully. Cove's house set in your sights. I like how the choices actually... I mean, some choices actually seem to matter in this game. Like, it seemed like we really could have actually gone and talked with Elizabeth if we wanted to. I mean, I don't know who would pick that, but we could have. Or we could have stayed to talk with our moms more. Or we could go with Cove. I like how, you know, we actually get a choice in something. And then we could tell Lee to F off or not. After you raised a hand to knock on the door, it only took a few moments for Mr. Holden to answer it, giving you a broad smile. Hi, Joseph. Looking for Cove, I bet. Yeah, that's right. Cliff turned and whistled down the hall in the direction of Cove's room. Hey, sport. You have a guest. After calling his son, he turned back to you and dipped his head.
No worries.
He'll be here any second. Dude, hey, what's up? You're sexy as usual. As promised, it didn't take long before footsteps echoed down the hall and Cove's head of green hair appeared before you all. That rhymes. He looked past his dad to see you standing there and smiled, pleased at your visit. Hey, Joseph. Hi, Lee. Hi, Cove. Can you hang out now? My thrussy's aching for you. He gave you a placid smile, one you are all too familiar with. Sure, but what's a thrusy? You kids take care, alright? I'll be around if you need anything. Mr. Holden shuffled back into the house and closed the front door, giving you some privacy. Cove tilted his head at you, his bangs falling into his face as he did so.
So...
What's up? Lee said nothing, eyes shifting to you instead and waiting for you to speak. There's a lot going on, it's nothing, you didn't speak to him, I need to talk to you. My parents are dead! Cove froze at your outburst, except for his mouth which fell open. My biological ones, before my mom's adopted me. Without having to say anything else, Cove reached out and pulled you into a tight embrace, his familiar warmth enveloping you. Oh my god, embrace me, Cove. Oh my god, I can smell you. Did you just come out of the shower, Cove? You smell delicious. Like strawberry shampoo. I'm sorry, Joseph. That's okay, just keep holding me like this. My parents, my biological parents, who? Who's that? His words were whispered comfortingly into your shoulder. You took a step back from him. You don't have to do this. I mean, I'll play this up if that means I can hold on to you. Sure, I'll some crocodile tears. I'll muster some out. You pressed your face into the crook of his neck, unable to stop the tears. The hold he had on you tightened. Oh, Cove, hold me tighter. Can we talk somewhere else? Like your bedroom? Lee, do you want to watch? You felt uncomfortable huddling around in the entrance of Cove's house. That feeling didn't seem to be a problem, though. Yeah. Let's go. Cove took you by the arm and encouraged you along behind him. You followed without protests. Lee stayed just as close as she followed along. Oh, okay, some public fun, Cove. That's kinda hot. You headed towards the hills where you and Lee had spent the majority of your day. Things seemed so different then, only a couple hours ago, and you wondered how everything had changed so drastically. You took a seat in the grass beside Cove, who bent his legs and rested his arms on them before he turned to you again. Can you explain everything to me? You nodded softly before taking in a heavy breath and launching into the story. Cove sat quietly and listened attentively, nodding every now and then and taking in a sharp inhale. It took a long time for you to relay the details. Dozens of stars were pinpointed in the sky as the night wore on. Silence settled between you and Cove as you sat quietly for a moment, contemplating everything you had said. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet, drifting through the night towards you.
Joseph,
Yes?
I'm
Yes?
so sorry.
Oh, it's okay, Cove. It's okay. Can I hold your hand? That'd be really lewd right now. I'm really sorry about what happened to your parents. So sorry. He stopped suddenly and took in a deep, shaky breath, and you got the impression he was struggling with what was right to say. Let's see. I'm sad we'll never get to know them. I feel bad that I don't feel worse. I'm just so mad. It's whatever. Everything was so overwhelming it was difficult to get a good grasp.
Joseph,
Yes? What's up, dude? You want to get some bussy action? You're not doing anything wrong. You know that, right? I mean, having you bend me over right here on the hill? I mean, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, dude. I think that you can be as sad as you want, for as long as you need. Or you can feel okay about it whenever you want to. Well, you know, Cove, when I'm sad, I actually get really horny, so can you help me out with that? He sighed and ran a hand through his hair as he looked out over the ocean.
it's okay.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, whatever you feel about it is how you feel about it. You don't have to force yourself to be different. Thank you, Cove. His words had made you feel better, and you knew it was true. You didn't have to apologize or make any excuses for the way you felt about it at all. Cove smiled at you a little, and you could tell he was trying to be comforting. And your moms definitely don't. It doesn't matter if you're not blood related, you're definitely family. Oops, why am I reading that in my voice? I can see that, and I hope you can too. You felt reassurance in his eyes. Your cousin tried not to interrupt your explanation or Cove's response to it. When the opportunity arose, she made it clear she shared the same sentiment. You stayed up on the hill together a little longer, looking out over the ocean and stars that shone brightly above it. After talking about the situation with someone who wasn't directly a part of it, you started to see things in a different light. Above all, you were glad to have Cove and Lee's support, and to know you could count on them if you needed it. Hey. The sudden voice of your sister behind you made you jump. You saw her standing a little way away. She walked closer. You didn't quite know what to do or what she was planning on saying.
So?
Would you mind going? I want to talk to just Joseph. You can come back. It's not like it's gonna be forever or anything. Bruh. No, can you guys stay? I would really prefer not to talk to just Elizabeth. Cove seemed equal parts concerned and skeptical. Leaving now wasn't a concept that thrilled him. Lee wasn't exactly jumping to go, so she checked with you quietly. What do you think? Fine. If she wanted to talk to you in private, it was obviously about something important. You waited until the two of you were alone before fixing her with an inquisitive look. Elizabeth folded her arms, looking you over. Did moms tell you about your parents too? My birth parents also died, Elizabeth. Like, what do you want? Dinner's gonna be in an hour, okay? So, like, what's the deal? Elizabeth broke her eye contact after that.
Sorry.
Okay, it's whatever. I was actually getting really close with Cove. He was holding me and pressing me into his chest, and I was feeling his pecs that are so defined for a 13-year-old. It's kind of creepy. Why did you want to talk to me? Elizabeth raised an eyebrow at the question, as though the answer should be obvious. I was worried about you. I was the one who brought it up, but I made you deal with whatever was left when I was gone. She sighed, glancing upwards for a moment before settling on you once more. I wanted to ask you what happened without everyone breathing down our necks. Well, now you're breathing down my neck, Elizabeth, so you can just go walk your little behind back to the house. I'm amazed you noticed that was unkind. Thank you for thinking of me. You were quietly surprised by her admission. She stuck her nose up a little bit at that, but her smile was soft. I'm okay, Elizabeth. It didn't upset me.
Hey.
How are you allowed to be that mature? Because I didn't grow up being a little bee my entire life. The lightning spirits in her were quickly gone as she slipped back into a scowl. You have to be born in the US to become president. Oh my god, I knew she was gonna say that. I literally said that earlier. What? You had never heard of that dream of hers before. She noticed your bafflement and continued. I get I was never gonna be president, but it just feels weird, having stuff taken away, not even getting a chance at it. I don't like having to know that when I was born, I was gonna have a completely different life. So different I can't even think about what it would look like in my head. I could have spoken another language, lived away from everything I've ever seen here. Had someone else as my sibling. Oh my god, Elizabeth, now you're speaking my language. That actually sounds awesome. And then my parents died and I was adopted. And the life I got became a totally new thing forever. I can't go back to what it was, even if I wanted to. A heaviness settled between you and the person who became your sister. I don't really get it, Elizabeth. I can't see that other stuff as being my life. The one I have is the one I have is what my life is, and everything else is only what didn't happen. Elizabeth watched you seriously. She was still trying to make sense of this to you and herself. I don't know why today was the day. Nothing came up to make me ask the question. It's just something I've had in my head for a while. When it was just me and Mom's in the living room, I just kind of said it, finally, and there you go. She shifted from one foot to another, relaxing her stance just a bit. She also spoke more gently. Learning about them and what happened doesn't change how I feel about our family, Joseph. She smirked, fixing you with sharp eyes. I had already figured a long time ago that moms weren't our biological parents. That wasn't news. Okay, Elizabeth, are you gonna wrap this conversation up sometime? Because I need to get back to Cove's crotch. It was so... You have no idea how good it looked in his pants, Elizabeth. I'm sorry, what am I responding to? I don't recall. One of them could have been related to you, I guess. Our moms can have kids, just not both together. I mean, they technically could, if one of the moms gave her egg to the other mom and then that was inseminated inside the other mom, because you can do that. They technically could have both been related to you, technically. Kind of. I'm pretty sure. Because the surrogate mom gives her mitochondrial DNA to the child, even if they didn't give the egg to the child, I think, is kind of how it works. I don't know. True, but I'm not half white or native Hawaiian, so no, neither of them could have been my mom.
Nice try.
Nice try, smart aleck. Nothing about the family I was first born in would have made me decide that. This wasn't my family anymore. If you had hoped you'd be free of my big sisterly status, don't think you're so lucky. She bumped her shoulder against yours playfully, her lips tilted at the corners.
You'll always be my little sibling.
Okay, whatever. You jokingly groaned. You took in the moment quietly. Chuckling, she seemed pleased with how the conversation had gone in the end. Ready to head back home? It's been a long day. No, Elizabeth, have you been listening? Cove's crotch. You gave her a nod. Oh.
Come on.
Come on, you three. Let's go. Cove, please let me just grab your crotch and touch it through your pants. You walked home together in a comfortable silence down the well-worn street. The familiarity of it all felt nice. When you stepped through the door, you found your moms quietly sitting together at the kitchen table. Their heads snapped up as they got to their feet to meet you, Mom giving you a careful smile. We're so glad to see you. Hi. Hi, sweetheart. Ma then came over and wrapped her arms around you and Elizabeth, giving you a tight hug. It didn't take long for Mom to join in, putting her arms around both of you.
Love you.
We really couldn't have asked for better kiddos. We love you. More than we could ever say. Most 13-year-olds do not have the emotional or mental maturity to deal with the decision to have sex. I do. Moms. You're glad your moms were alright. Why would they not be alright? What happened to them? Smiled at their comfort. I love you too. It was a nice moment and you enjoyed it as long as you could. Cove, can you come in and join this hug? They both pulled back. I don't even know if they're here anymore. They both pulled back eventually and grinned at the two of you. And you knew that you all had each other and you always would. Well now, since we're all here, how about we do something together, as a family? That sounds like an excellent idea. We should have some fun before the night's over.
Totally!
Okay, they are still here. I love the sound of that. I love the sound of that. Okay. Cove looked a little bashful, likely over being included as part of the family, but he tried not to pay too much attention to it. Why not? You hid the smile that threatened to tilt your lips, knowing that Elizabeth must have been in a good mood if she had even teased Cove for being part of it. And no matter what she could have said about it, you wanted him to be here. He was someone who was really important to you. Who's got a suggestion? It should be something we can do here in the house, with everyone in the same room. You suddenly remembered the show you and Lee had been working on earlier. Oh my god, maybe we can do our show! Oh my god! A show? This is the first time we're hearing of this. I'm intrigued.
Wonderful.
It would be amazing if you put it on for us to watch. Oh yeah, I need to see what you've cooked up. And I can't wait to show my moves to Cove. It's mostly just me twerking. Cove will love that. That'd be cool. Okay, Cove. You can get on stage and position yourself just right below me. I'm gonna twerk right on your face. You smiled at Lee, who returned the gesture while bouncing on her heels in excitement. Take some seats and we'll get everything together. Your moms collected the chairs from around the dining table and set them in a row in the living room, where there was enough space for the show. While they did that, Lee quickly gathered the supplies you needed and rehashed the plan one more time. You listened through the song you had chosen one last time. You also took a moment to cycle through the dance moves you had planned. When the two of you returned to the living room, everyone was sitting and chatting amongst themselves while they waited. The group quieted down and Lee stood in front of them on your makeshift stage. Lee was buzzing quietly with excitement beside you. You felt nervous all of a sudden, you were pumped for the show. I was pumped. I'm pumped to shake this booty in front of Cove's face. The time you and Lee had been put into practicing was worth it. You were ready to go. Okay, so welcome to our show. We only came up with it today, but we promise it'll be good. No refunds. Laughter rippled through the mini audience. Then you nodded at Lee that you were ready to begin. Lee took in a deep breath, waiting the few beats it took to get into the song, and started singing. Still could have had a mutual J off, but Cove does not seem to be into... I know. Cove... He really, every time I try to get sexual with him, he dodges my advances. I'm worried that he's asexual. The dance moves you had practiced went perfectly with the tempo of the song. When the performance was over, Lee took your hand in hers and the two of you bowed deeply together. Everyone gave you a round of applause and cheered for an encore. When you straightened yourself up, you were happy to see that even Elizabeth was clapping for you. Bravo, bravo!
Good job.
You were so talented. Really? Did I have a thick ass, Ma? Your family rose from their seats and came over to congratulate you more directly. You were beaming from ear to ear. Cove was the first one to approach, stepping up to you and Lee with a smile on his face. How'd you like my thick cake, Cove?
It's nice.
Oh, was it really nice? Why don't you grab a handful of it right now? I don't mind. Thank you. You're a really great dancer, Joseph. It was cool. Yeah, I know you liked it. I saw how tight your pants got. Luckily, we had a crowd that was easily impressed. You're talking about me, aren't you? Maybe. Cove chuckled and shook his head. Your parents gushed about how great everything was and thanked you for sharing it with them. Elizabeth was complimentary in her own way, although she did describe the show as cute, which you know she meant as kind of kiddie. You laughed it off, however, and you were just happy that everyone had a nice time. In that moment, you couldn't even have been more pleased to be a part of the family you had.